Hey neighbors, tax season is almost here. And did you know if your household earned less than $84,000 in 2025, you qualify to file your taxes at no cost through United Way's Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, or VITA program. Maximize your refunds and save on filing fees. Get free tax prep from United Way and keep more of what you earn. Visit UnitedWayFileFree.com to learn more. Today on CityCast Nashville, after enduring the catastrophic effects of Winter Storm Fern, Nashville has lost thousands of trees across our city. I'm joined by writer and naturalist Joanna Bruschetto, who's here to help us better understand how to care for our tree friends in the wake of all this, and why all hope is not lost. It's Tuesday, February 17th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Joe, welcome back to CityCast Nashville.
Thank you, Marie. I'm so happy to be back.
Did you fare okay during the storm?
We were really lucky, I gotta say. I only lost one tree, and we only had a power outage for maybe 2 days. So I got away with it.
My mom's house is in Oak Hill, and we lost about 100-year-old oak tree that fell on our home. And it was such a sad sight because this tree was so old. And I remember that tree as a 2-year-old, playing under it, and for it to go down like that. Where have you seen the most loss? Are you hearing like in certain neighborhoods where we've lost the most? I know Forest Hills lost a ton.
Forest Hills, like you said, and Green Hills. It was like day 3 when I got to drive through Green Hills, and that was utterly horrifying. It was just heartbreaking. My neighborhood is Hillsborough West End. I think we got hit pretty bad. Anywhere where there's the old mature trees, the street trees that just aren't yet in some of the newer developments. So all the big ones took the big hit.
You live in the same house that you survived in the ice storm of 94. How did this year's winter storm compare in terms of tree damage and storm preparedness?
I think it was worse. In 94, what I remember, the biggest difference during the activity was I heard a lot more transformers popping back then. There were fewer transformers blowing. I understand technology has moved on, but there were definitely more trees falling all night long and the next morning.
2 months ago, an internal NES audit warned that vegetation management issues could lead to longer and more frequent outages. After seeing the damage from this ice storm, how should we understand the role tree maintenance played here?
Right. So there's NES tree maintenance and there's homeowner tree maintenance. And, this is just what I've seen walking around. Most of the damage wasn't done by trees in the right of way. It was done by trees in our yards. When NES marks the trees, there's the green dot for go and the yellow dot for needs some work. And then the dreaded red dot means it's got to be removed. And it just breaks my heart when there's some favorite tree that's got the red X on it. But, I wish we homeowners could be as vigilant, but even I'm not. And I'm a tree person. And I've got an arborist who I trust implicitly.
How do you stay more vigilant in that sense?
Well, usually to get a certified arborist to come out to your house, it's free. They'll come out and look at anything and assess anything and then give you their advice. So I think we should be doing that a lot more often.
What surprised you most about which trees were damaged and which weren't?
Okay, the surprise was that it was like an equal opportunity destroyer. Like trees that I thought would get hit were fine. Trees that I thought would be fine got hit. It was so curious. Some of it is where exactly are they growing? What fell on them? Some of it was tree species. We do know that there are some that are more susceptible to ice damage than others. But even among the ones that are like southern magnolia, for example, those big old broad evergreen leaves, they can't take a lot of weight. And when that ice piles up, that leaf snaps off, hits whatever's below it, and then that snaps off. So I expected like all the southern magnolias just to be destroyed. But I saw some big, beautiful specimens that are still big and beautiful. So it's so curious, the differences.
Yeah. So everyone is hating on hackberries again. Is that hatred deserved right now?
I like that you said again, because you know that hackberry hatred's been going on a long time, and I am a lover of hackberries and sugarberries. You know, people don't realize that most of the things we call hackberries, like the street trees, are sugarberries. That's a different species. That's the southern hackberry. And they're different from the northern hackberry. We have both. They hybridize. We also have a dwarf hackberry in the cedar glades. But most of our big old street trees and front yard trees are going to be sugarberries. And they don't live forever. You know, ideally, like in the woods, maybe 70, 80 years. But on a street where they're like compressed and they've got pollution and all those other terrible things happening to them as a street tree, they're going to last less than that. So we just need to keep an eye on them.
Can you warn us what we're supposed to be looking for?
Well, you want to look for anything that looks dead and then have an arborist take that off.
Okay, that makes sense.
They can look at, they're going to look like around the soil line at the trunk to see any signs of what is called, get this, butt rot.
Oh,
yeah. So you don't want butt rot. And if they see that starting, then they may have some advice for you.
okay. All right, folks, look for butt rot. That's a good tip. Why might some damaged trees still be worth saving rather than removing entirely?
Good question. Typical rule of thumb is that if it's still got more than half of the canopy remaining, it might do okay.
What are the ripple effects of losing this many mature trees?
Oh my gosh. I don't even want to think about it. It's just horrifying. All that biomass, all that bird food, all that ecosystem function. I mean, it's just the bigger the tree, the more there is. And if we lose one big tree, we have to plant how many little tiny trees to make up for it, which doesn't really make up for it for a long, long time. So it's sad. And the only thing we can do is grieve a little. And I'm grieving. And I'm almost wishing that the city wasn't so efficient picking up this brush, because like, I need to see these dead bodies. I need to like process this loss. And it's funny, wait, I'm interrupting myself, but the birds, like I walk early in the morning, the birds see all this stuff at the curb waiting to get picked up. They think it's brush piles. They are so happy. They're seeing habitat. So it's kind of heartbreaking to think not only did those birds lose the tree, now they're going to lose that brush pile.
I'm sorry. I just had like a moment of visualizing like birds getting chopped in the chopper.
No, they're not. No, they will fly away.
They will fly away. Okay, good.
Yeah,
okay.
But part of me wants to move those brush piles back into people's yards and tuck them in the back where nobody sees them so that the birds can have some habitat. Everybody can have some habitat with that brush pile. So many critters, skinks and chipmunks and birds and little tiny invertebrates that we don't ever even see. I like to have mine out my kitchen window so that I can see. And like in May, I can see like skinks sunning themselves on top. And it's like courting time. So like there'll be, he and she skink, and it's adorable. I'll see chipmunks up there. They can escape from the neighborhood cats under there. I've seen garter snakes. I've seen bunnies make nests under there. And then I've seen like Carolina wrens. They're out there right now looking for nesting materials on the brush pile. We can make new fireflies with that brush down there at the soil line.
I feel bad. I just cleared all the brush.
Oh,
just did
there's
it.
always
Okay.
more. No,
Okay, there's more.
We've got sticks. Sticks happen all the time. So just what kills me, oh my gosh, on brush pile days, like regular brush pile days, 4 times a year, it kills me to walk past a yard that has like 5 sticks at the curb. Like, are you kidding me? You can't find a place for 5 sticks, but start with the 5 sticks and just keep adding and you will have a brush pile in no time.
Nashville, are you ready to take the plunge for a really great cause? The Music City Polar Plunge for Special Olympics Tennessee is happening February 28th at Nissan Stadium, and we want you to take the leap. This one-of-a-kind fundraising event invites the bravest souls of Nashville to jump into icy cold water so athletes with intellectual disabilities can experience the joy of sports, teamwork, health programs, and year-round competition. So grab your friends and family and start a team together. Turn your courage into impact. And listen, if freezing water isn't your thing, you can still join and cheer on this year's plungers. It's going to be a full-blown party with food trucks and really good vibes. Every dollar raised helps support more than 18,000 Special Olympics Tennessee athletes across the state. Ready to make a splash for a life-changing cause? Register, donate, or learn more at polarplungetennessee.com. That's polarplungetennessee.com. Take the plunge, change a life. Well, so in my mom's backyard, there were a lot of trees that did fall that we're just kind of let stay there.
That is so awesome.
Okay. So explain to us why that is so awesome. I learned that tip from Steve Ward from Radnor Lake. So tell us, why should we leave some of these trees?
Trees are life, whether they're alive or dead. So if a tree falls and we've got the room, the best thing to do is to leave it there. That's what our metro parks do. And then when you're on a hike and a naturalist passes one of these downed trees, they'll say, it's nature's motel. And they'll talk about all the critters who use that tree, either as a nesting in a cavity or using the decomposing wood. There are just countless ways that critters can use that tree. If we can't leave the entire tree lying where it fell, we can cut it up into logs and leave those in place and not disturb them. It's all life. It can join that cycle again. And by not chipping it up or burning it, we're not releasing all that carbon. And it's retaining moisture. It's just a win-win.
Can you tell us about snags?
Yay! Okay, I'm so happy you used that word. I want to make snag a household word that has nothing to do with stockings. A snag is a tree that has been so damaged, it's got to go or it's dying, and you can leave it in place and just let it die slowly, naturally where it is. Now, that's what they do in natural areas. But in a yard, you again need to have your certified arborist come and check that out and make sure it's not a safety risk for you. So like some of the height might need to come off, some of the limbs might need to come off. They'll check the base and, depending on the species, that could be good for years and years and years. Standing there, benefiting wildlife. Again, cavity nesters, so like a woodpecker could go in and make a little hole, raise a nest, and then all these other creatures will go in there later and build their nests. Lots of bird food in terms of like, say, bark beetles. We think bark beetles are bad because we're thinking of like emerald ash borer, but there's a lot of different kinds of bark beetles that are perfectly fine here. And they're food for birds who will go hunt for them in the bark and in the wood. A friend of mine texted me a picture of the snag she just left in her yard, and it was so beautiful. I felt like she's such a hero. It's her front yard, and it's 15 feet tall. She put a beautiful blue and green bluebird house on it. It's like a work of art now.
This is great. I didn't know how this interview was going to go because it is so sad that we've lost so many trees, but I mean, we are resilient. Mother Earth is resilient. I am curious, though, several Nashville tree conservation groups have posted guidelines when it comes to assessing storm-damaged trees. I know you're not an arborist, but what are some things people should be aware of before they get out the chainsaw?
I think everybody needs to have an arborist come and see their stuff. I mean, you don't need to be operating a chainsaw unless your feet are on the ground.
Right.
Unless you're certified to do so. So you got to get somebody out and tell you what's going on.
Okay, well, I want to pat myself on the back because I had friends who were like, I'll come over, this tree that had fallen on my mom's house. I got a chainsaw, I'll help you out. I was like, no. We're all waiting. I had professionals come out and survey the damage first. But I mean, it was just a lot of my male friends getting really excited with their chainsaws.
I wish I had those male friends excited with their chainsaws.
Well, call me, Joe. I got plenty.
Because now, if your tree had been on the ground totally already, fine, let them at it. Let them at it. They can cut it up into stumps. You can have lovely little seating areas made from those oak, sections. You can cut the bigger limbs into sections and have like little mini stumps as edging for garden beds. It's a beautiful look. I've got it at my house, at my pawpaw patch, like little mini stumps all lined up in a row. It looks very tidy. They can cut up stuff to their heart's content, but only if their feet are on the ground.
All right, so let's talk about Nashville as a whole. This is something I just learned, but according to WPLN, a study conducted in 2024 found that Nashville's urban tree canopy covered 53 to 56% of our land, meaning that Nashville has one of the largest tree canopies in the United States. But of course, those statistics are going to be a little different now after Fern. Joe, do you see this time of replanting an opportunity to increase those numbers, especially in places in town where it's not evenly distributed?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so excited about this. And I know that Root Nashville's trying this too. Like they're targeting certain parts of town that just don't have enough trees. So let's get in there and plant some.
When is the best time to plant trees? And what other tree planting organizations or campaigns would you shout out?
Okay. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful?
that is beautiful.
But for Nashville, the tree planting season is in the dormant season. So for us, that's like mid-October to the end of March. That's when, as long as the ground isn't frozen, you can plant a tree. If you can plant it later than the end of March, but you're going to be running into a lot of extra watering and care and, just being vigilant. And speaking of March, the Tennessee Environmental Council has their annual tree day, and the deadline to order is March 1st. And it's statewide, but if you go to their website, find the pickup area nearest you, in Middle Tennessee, and order from that site. And I think there's 11 species this year. They're all native and they're cheap as heck because they're tiny. These are bare root saplings. And when you look at them, they don't look like anything. They look like little sticks with like little feathery things down below. But they're submerged in water and you have to keep them submerged until the minute they go in the ground. And then they'll be fine. The smaller the tree sometimes, the better, because they're going to acclimate quicker, they're going to get established quicker, and they're going to start growing quicker than, say, some big old thing with a huge root ball. So I really recommend the Tennessee Tree Day.
Are there any local nurseries that you would recommend going to at the moment?
Yes, I've got one. It's called Wonder Gift and Garden, and it's in Kingston Springs, but don't let that scare you. It's just a little bit out of town, and it's all natives, and I think they have about 60 different species, and these are kind of small. They're like 1 gallon, 3 gallon, 5 gallon. So they're gonna rebound quickly after you plant them. But it is a wonderful native nursery and a great gift shop, and it is the best restroom in town.
The best restroom? What makes it so great?
You gotta go. It's like, all are welcome here. And there's like running water and like mood music. And it's just adorable.
Oh.
And you should go when the Yorkshire Deli is open. That's right next door. So you can just like make a little outing out of it.
And folks, that's the English deli that serves like scones and teas and things.
It is legit. Yeah. It is absolutely real. Yeah.
How do you decide where to plant your tree?
Oh, great question. First of all, walk outside. Walk outside today, wherever you are, where you live, where you work, where you are, like most days. Look at all the trees and see where you'd like one. I mean, that sounds so stupid, but like, I want to pass this tree on my way to the mailbox every day, right? But then, very important, look up. Look up and where are the power lines? That's the trick. I see this all the time. People put this big, beautiful new tree right under the power line. The NES website has a graph. You can see how far to plant what kind of tree, like in terms of how high the tree is going to get eventually is how far away it needs to be from that power line. So a redbud could be closer up than, say, a tulip poplar. Okay, so not only, though, do you need to look up, you need to look down and figure out where your utilities are. You can call 811 and they'll tell you, they'll come and mark them. But yeah, you don't want to plant one, right over the gas line and right under the power line. And for yards like mine, which are pretty small, that doesn't leave you a lot of wiggle room. So where to plant a tree might not be as difficult a decision as it might seem.
You're making me remember a time, I think my younger sister got a tree on Earth Day, rushed home, wanted to plant it. My dad and her planted it in the backyard. My mom came out to inspect. She said, look up. And then there was the power line. They had planted it right under.
Yeah, we do it all the time. We just don't see what's there all the time.
Well, so are there any species of trees that are better suited for Nashville's changing climate? And how can residents make smarter planting choices?
I'm a big fan of trees that are native to the Central Basin, where we are, and extra credit, trees that are from the Central Basin that are propagated here and have our genetics, where these trees have been for a lot longer than we have. These trees have been here. Not all species are, they've all got different characteristics, but I would want to choose my tree from that big subset right there. I could go out with like maybe trees from the Southeast, that's fine, but Central Basin would be my top choice.
Do you have favorites that you'd want to shout out?
Of course I do. Shumard oak. Oh my gosh, what a magnificent tree that is. You can see them in the woods here in town and in lucky neighborhoods. We've got a few on my sidewalks. I don't know how they got there. They're absolutely enormous, but they're just stunning. All year round, they're amazing. Like in the spring when the buds burst and have you ever seen oak flowers? They're like little dangly catkins, like crazy earrings that I would never wear. And then the pollen's everywhere. I'm so sorry, but there's pollen. That's okay. Pollen makes the world go round. And then the flowers drop and the squirrels are eating them. And then the acorns start, and the acorns are just exquisite. And the leaves are beautiful. And there's all kinds of critters who eat the leaves, who are in the leaves. And then they turn a pretty color in the fall. You just can't go wrong with a Shumard oak. Or any of our native oaks. I love them all equally, truthfully. All the native oaks, and we have a bunch. In terms of ecosystem function, I can't not mention this. And I know people talk about it, so I'm sorry if you've heard it a million times, but all native trees are not created equal. As I said, they've all got different structures. Different creatures do different things with them. But one environmental indicator of to judge the functionality of a tree, right, is the Lepidoptera list. Okay, so Doug Tallamy, Bringing Nature Home, newest book is How Can I Help? Saving Nature with Your Yard, highly recommended. He's the one who has popularized this list. Basically, it's how many Lepidoptera species a tree can support. Well, what does that mean? It means that Lepidoptera are our butterflies and moths, okay? So when it's time for a butterfly or moth to lay eggs, she's flying around looking for her host plants. Okay, she's not being picky because she knows that whatever she lays eggs on, if it's not the host plant, those caterpillars will die. And she can taste the leaves with her feet. So she's landing on leaves until she finds the right tree, and then she'll lay her eggs. And then when the babies hatch, those are the caterpillars, and they're going to do nothing but eat those leaves from then until it's time to either become a chrysalis or a cocoon, depending. So if you look at a ginkgo, everybody loves ginkgo. It's a beautiful tree with a fascinating history. It is from China. How many Lepidoptera species does a ginkgo support? How many butterflies and moths will a ginkgo make? 0. If you look at any native oak here in the Central Basin, how many did they support? 432.
Wow.
So, oh my gosh, do we want our trees to be making butterflies? Yes, we do.
Wait, how many species does a hackberry support?
49. Thank you for asking. 49 species of Lepidoptera. And not only does a hackberry make the caterpillars, which are bird food, because most of our birds can't feed seeds to their babies. They have to have fresh meat in the form of caterpillars. Not only does the hackberry make lots of bird food with the caterpillars, but it makes that lovely fruit, which is delicious if you get the right tree. And it has all kinds of other ways of feeding birds, which I could go into and I could talk about all day.
Well, I mean, okay, so this is getting us just so excited about this beautiful ecosystem that we're going to be replanting here in Nashville. But what do you say to those people who are just hesitant to plant trees because of the damage that they experienced?
Yeah, here comes the double heartbreak. I've got neighbors who are cutting down perfectly healthy trees right now because they're afraid. That fear is just so overwhelming. They know it's going to fall down eventually, so why not take it down now? There's some people that are just going to stay that much afraid, and I wish I could help, but I just can't. But for the rest of us, it's only been 2 weeks, give us a minute. This is the perfect time of year to get all jazzed up about nature, because with these warm days lately, again, walk outside, find your nearest tree, look at the twig, right? The newest little twiggy bit at the end. Look at those buds. They're changing every day. Those little bud scales are going to swell and break off. And then, what's going to come out? A new leaf, a new flower, or both. And when you see that, I don't know. I'm just hoping that you fall in love with it and want as many trees as possible.
All right, listeners. I have a smile from ear to ear. I hope you do too, listening to Joy's excitement about all of this. If you're at home and you do want to get involved locally right now, whether that's cleanup or planting or advocacy, Jo, what would you first recommend?
I know that all the tree organizations are happy to take donations at any time. And I know, also Weed Wrangle, the yearly Weed Wrangle's coming up. It's always in March. Isn't it the first Saturday in March? Do we know about Weed Wrangle?
What's Weed Wrangle?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is such a huge deal. Okay, it started in Nashville with the Garden Club of Nashville, and now it is nationwide. And what it is it's a way to remove the invasive plants so that we can put in native plants. I mean, plants that are on the state list for invasive. Like the big three are bush honeysuckle, Chinese privet, and winter creeper, but there are others. So it's a way to go into what usually a public property and remove the invasives with the coolest tools, like these massive lever tools that even I can operate and like uproot a little tree. But the point is to get rid of that so we can make room to immediately plant natives. And it's also gone to some private properties. You can rent those levers. You don't have to rent them. They're free. You can borrow those weed wrenches from, like, I call it the Metro Tool Library. I think it's NDOT now, but you can borrow all sorts of gardening tools, including that lever.
Well, Jo, I mean, again, I came into this episode thinking we'd be crying over these dead trees, but I'm actually left feeling very hopeful. So I thank you so much for joining us. And listeners at home, please get involved and plant those trees. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our CityCast Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!